Hi, good morning. I'm Matt Call, Operations Section Chief with Great Basin Team 1. We're here on the Mount Hood National Forest on the Camp Creek fire. This morning I've got my boss, Evans Quo, our incident commander. We're going to talk to him a little bit about what's going on the fire, and then we'll talk about kind of the details about what's going on. Right now we're at 2,021 acres and about 28% contained. So Evans, what's going on?
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So Evans Quo, Incident Commander for Great Basin Team 1. I just wanted to summarize a lot of what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks on this fire. From the very get-go, the fire being in very close or inside the municipal watershed and also very close proximity to a lot of the communities north of Sandy as well as east of Sandy and then along Highway 26. We recognized right off the bat that we had a lot of values out here. And so at various public meetings around the communities, we've been telling everybody our main management direction is to try to minimize this fire size, keep it as small as possible, use whatever tactics we could to try to reduce the amount of impact, not only to the watershed itself, but also to reduce the threat and the possibility of the fire going to where a lot of the residential communities are. So fortunately for us, there's a fairly extensive road network out inside the Bull Run watershed. And so our primary strategy has always been to utilize the road networks, specifically the 12 road on the north side, the 14 road on the south side. And then we also have been looking for opportunities that Matt will probably talk about. And then we also looked at some of these road networks to the south, as well as the north, in the event the fire pushed our immediate roads and started getting bigger, because very, very concerned about fire going south towards all the communities along Highway 26. We're very concerned about the fire coming back west towards the Public Water Bureau infrastructure, as well as all the homes that are to the mouth of Bull Run. So over the course of these days, the crews have been very active working on keeping the fire inside the road network. We've been using a combination of direct attack as well as indirect attack. And I think you may have seen some of our earlier videos where we talked about the difference, but essentially direct attack is where we get as close to the fire as possible and we establish a control line right up against the edge of the fire. And then in other places where it was unsafe to get really close, we had to go indirect. And then once we go indirect, that means we also have to do what we call firing operations in order to remove all the fuels between that indirect control line and the main fire. So in some places, we probably had about maybe a quarter-mile distance. So we had to put fire in those areas to bring the main fire out to those control lines. So as Matt will talk about, we finally got the right conditions for us to start or do our firing operations, because there's a fine line between burning when the conditions are too damp because of all the rain we had, in which case we wouldn't end up with a clean enough burn to be able to secure the fire's edge. But on the other hand, we didn't want to burn it under conditions where it was too hot, in which case then we might run the risk of having the fire escape or potentially cause too much damage to the landscape, where we may get a lot of sedimentation and erosion during the winter rains. So the last couple of days we've had just about ideal conditions for that. When it was raining, now we're going back about a week or so ago, I think cumulatively we probably had about 1.5 inches of rain. So when we had all the rain, which really moderated fire behavior, that gave us some opportunities to go direct in some other places, like along the northeast side up against this road, a pretty challenging piece of country right here to connect the 12 road to the 14 road, but that was, that would have been our Achilles heel, if you will. And then we've also been able to go direct on a lot of these portions over here. Exactly how the east side's going to play out in the future, that is yet to be determined. We're trying to find a good way to keep it to cut the fire off, but we're still evaluating the risk of what we can do. The other concern that has been very highlighted to us was the potential for an east wind event. And I think everybody probably remembers what happened in 2020, on Labor Day weekend in particular, but we know that this area is very prone to east winds for pretty much the entire month of September and even into October a little bit. So by us having really good solid containment all along north, south, and west side, in the event we do get an east wind, where wind is coming from the east and it pushes the fire this way, we're feeling a lot more comfortable now that we've got enough containment here to keep the fire from spreading to the west and impacting resources. So with that, I mean, that's pretty much a summation of a lot of the things that we've been working on and some of the goals that we were hoping to accomplish during our time here. Our speaking of our time here, our tenure is coming to a close. Tomorrow will be our last day on this incident, and we'll be transitioning with a Pacific Northwest team, a team similar to us in complexity. They're also a Type 1 team. Dan Quinones is the incident commander, and I think we're going to be introducing Dan once he gets here to everybody. So with that, I'll turn it back to operations. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Evans. Yeah, this is kind of a little bit sad for me because Evans won't be with us next year. So thanks, Evans. As he said, there is a little bit of a wind shift towards the end of the week, but with that east wind, I think with as much as that we have locked off on this side, I think we feel pretty safe about where the fire can't go, and the potential is pretty low for it growing. So we're going to scooch over to our other map here, our zoomed in map, and it looks a little bit different. Yesterday we had a bunch of squigglies here. Well, we burned along that road, and then we filled that in, so there was more smoke coming off of the fire yesterday, all in this interior area. Because that road is a good containment line, we've mitigated all the fuels along it and then burned that undergrowth like the video we showed you yesterday. Then we took some more of that fuel out on the interior. We're considering that all inside the perimeter now. So we've gained some acreage, but this line out here is a lot more straight. So we're at 28%. We're probably going to go up a little bit more tomorrow as some of these lines become contained. So this should all be black here in the next couple of days, all the way around. And right here we have a little bit of a problem spot because there's a little pocket of fuel that we can't go direct, and we can't really get up against the fire. So we're still kind of working on that. But all of this line, it might be hard to see, but about my finger width is about the problem spot. There's hand line around it. Everything else is direct all the way up to here. So we have a good lock on that. And then today hand crews are working this piece of line. So probably by end of shift tomorrow, we'll have about that pretty well locked off and pretty well secure. Hand line along this as well. And probably tomorrow, we'll begin getting some hose lines in there. There's still a little bit of a snagging and eliminating some hazard trees. So all of this, we're feeling pretty comfortable with leaving tomorrow, or after we leave tomorrow, the team coming in will still have the indirect piece, but all of that line's been mitigated. So tomorrow we'll introduce you to some of the members of the new incoming team as we exit, and we'll see you tomorrow.